A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us today for the session on how do businesses set up and gain value from artificial intelligence factory. My name is Rahul Kapoor and I'm a client partner at Fractal. I work with our partners to enable and accelerate AI and an analytics journey for various organizations across different industry verticals. In today's session, the panelists would share their experience on how the business teams are able to adopt AI and support the decision making within their enterprise. Before we start, I just want to mention that this session is being recorded and will be available on demand on the Fractal website at www.fractal.ai. Attendees are currently in a listen only mode. We will open the forum for question and answers from the audience towards the end, around 40 minutes from now. And we would encourage all participants to please share their questions via the Q&A box during the session. And Chetan, who will be our moderator on the same. So let me start by introducing our speakers. Harish Ganapati, Head of Data Solutions and Engineering from L'Oreal. Harish is a result-oriented transformational leader with deep technical knowledge and proven business acumen. He is Head of Data Solutions and Engineering at L'Oreal North Asia and SAP MENA Zone. At L'Oreal, he's responsible for leading the data transformation journey on Google Cloud by designing best fit solution architecture for data and analytics projects. As an MBA and full stack GCP certified professional, his interest ranges from data engineering, data management, ML engineering, cloud architecture, to leading data upskilling initiatives. Welcome, Harish. Our next panelist is Yuki Tang, lead data scientist at Tech Accelerator for the L'Oreal Shanghai Hub. Yuki is a lead data scientist at the Tech Accelerator Shanghai Hub. At L'Oreal, she's responsible for designing and developing machine learning AI use cases for the APAC markets at L'Oreal. She helps major business units across L'Oreal adopt artificial intelligence at scale to improve their performance radically. Her work spans several industries and business endeavors, from previously working with healthcare pharma industry to currently in FMCG on personalized customer journey and marketing budget allocation optimization. Welcome, Yuki. Our next panelist is Tuba Islam. She's a machine learning specialist at Google Cloud. Tuba is an expert in discovering insights from data using machine learning and has delivered successful projects across Europe and US in various industries. She's a machine learning specialist at Google Cloud, and she's responsible for helping customers and partners to solve their business problems using AI ML on Google Cloud and enabling organizations to productionize their models and get value out of their data quickly. Welcome, Tuba. Chetan Dikshit, he heads the Google Cloud practice at Fractal. Chetan is head of Google Cloud practice. At Fractal, he's responsible for building analytics and engineering capabilities using Google Cloud. He's responsible for helping clients with their cloud adoption strategy and deriving value out of their data. He's a public speaker and an expert in the area of data engineering and analytics. Chetan would be joining me as a moderator for this session. Welcome, Chetan. Now I'll hand it over to Chetan to take the discussion ahead. Chetan.
Thank you, Rahul. Thanks, Rahul, for the introduction. Welcome everyone to the session. Okay. Thank you, Tuba, Harish, and Yuki for taking time out for today's session. As we begin, over the past 3 years or so, there has been a tremendous development in the area of AI and ML. It is no longer that you do a project for research in the area of AI and ML, right? So there are so many capabilities being developed over the years now where you can build solutions which are ready for production. The things Google Cloud also offers so many capabilities to build solutions using AI and ML. And it has become easier a lot more easier to build solutions that are ready for production, when it comes to the AI and ML. With that context, we'll begin with our session. Maybe Tuba will begin with you first, with a set of questions, so that people are aware of and come to know about the Google Cloud. So Tuba, to begin with, how's Google Cloud helping organizations in delivering value to business?
Thanks, Chetan, and thanks for organizing this event. And you also mentioned it's becoming easier for organizations. That's one thing to start with, to make it easy and accessible and approachable for all organizations to get something, the value out of data using machine learning. That's one key focus area for Google Cloud also. And at the core, as you know, Google is a data-driven innovation company. Both data and machine learning are in the DNA. And Google Cloud provides a full stack approach to both business intelligence and machine learning that enables each member of the organization with the tools and capabilities that are required for data-driven decisioning. And that means whether you're a data engineer looking to streamline data ingestion transformations, or a data scientist looking to model or train large data sets, getting insights from their data, or a CEO wanting a complete up-to-date view of the business, you have those capabilities in Google Cloud. So Google Cloud provides this fully integrated solution to release value from data. That's one value. And also, especially recently, we see the requirements around data governance, data accessibility, sharing, security. So many modern organizations are widely distributed and have tight requirements around that. So Google Cloud provides the options, the controls to lock down the data or keep it decentralized where needed, or share where it is required. And maybe finally, one other thing to mention is the Google Marketplace, which provides the ecosystem to the organizations to discover and streamline the access to enterprise-ready solutions that are vetted by Google Cloud. So in summary, maybe those highlights I can mention.
Yeah, thanks, Tuba. So I would probably, go, more into an opinionated way. Let's say, what would be the primary reason, for someone to get onto the Google Cloud?
Well, I am biased on machine learning a little bit, of course, so I might be able to talk about machine learning motivations. And I would like to hear Harish's thoughts and Yuki's thoughts on that too, from the user perspective. For me, one primary reason is the simplification of the process of getting insights from data with serverless managed services for end users, providing tools that work efficiently, such as BigQuery, Vertex AI, Dataflow, and those tools, the managed services, dramatically reduces architectural complexity. So it brings speed to the business to gain value from data. And another thing, again, would be for me using AI ML-centric innovation developed by cutting-edge technology from Google's engineering team, Google's brain, and that provides democratization of data and machine learning, makes it easy for users to gain the results, which lowers the total cost of ownership. That's one another reason. So you can use more time and energy, spend your time on empowering everyone in the organization to drive value from data. And these innovations can be around making ML approachable and easy to use. It's a never-ending process. And some to mention could be like explainable AI, which allows you to use sophisticated algorithms, models to solve your business problems, but also be able to explain it to both your internal and external stakeholders, or around ML ops, machine learning operations, to make the movement of models into production much faster to gain insights, because as we all know, building a model is nothing unless you put it into production and start getting some value out of it.
Thanks, Tuba. Harish, we've just heard from Tuba on, the primary reason for adopting Google Cloud. As we see, L'Oreal is into the journey of, getting onto the Google Cloud, and it's been, marvelous journey of getting onto the Google Cloud. So I would like to hear from you, Harish, how do you see the value of, Google Cloud, when it comes to the business?
Sure. Thanks, Chetan, Rahul, and Tuba for having me today. So happy to share right after Tuba to share L'Oreal's perspective. So as you might know, L'Oreal, we are a beauty company, and our vision is to create the beauty that moves the world. And we are actually on a transformational journey to move away from not just selling beauty products, but to become a beauty tech enterprise. And at the core of this transformation is data. So data is at the heart of all our initiatives going forward. And this is exactly where we have chosen Google Cloud as the data platform. So in summary, you can see that any initiative which is transferring for the whole beauty tech initiative, so it's all is coming to the Google Cloud one or other way. So ranging from, let's say, dashboards and standard dashboards and reports, which are serving more than 3,000 plus users, or let's say enabling powering data analysts to get deep dive into the data through self-service on Looker and or BigQuery, as Tuba mentioned, and to move towards more advanced area in advanced analytics and AI ML algorithms, leverage the AI platform, Vertex AI, to automate decision-making at scale. So not just one, not just two, we have many markets, many zones to connect to. So that's where we're thinking at scale. So this is where I think wonderfully Google Cloud, with all the variety of the products catering to different users, as Tuba highlighted, not only IT, not only business, a variety of users on a different kind of products. This way it really helps us to make things more agile, at speed, and at scale. So to summarize, thank you, Google Cloud. Thank you, Tuba, happy to onboard L'Oreal into the journey.
Yeah. So Harish, I mean, like any journey, right? You usually face challenges when you're, moving on to a change, adopting new technology. Would you like to highlight, any challenges and particularly any specific business areas where, you were trying to adopt, or they were the early adopters, of the Google Cloud within the L'Oreal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as L'Oreal, we are 110-year-olds, company. We have more than we have 4 divisions, 40 plus brands, more than 6 zones on 150 markets. So a lot of challenges, and in other flip side, a lot of opportunities and problems to solve, right? So we'd love to onboard everyone on Google Cloud as soon as possible, which is always a request. But to be pragmatically, we just onboarded on Google Cloud in less than a year ago. We just started the journey, right? So we had to strategically choose where do we want to focus in 2021. So we ended up actually not just focusing on, let's say, mature markets with a mature data, maturity and system. We actually started with picking a small market where there is no data, no database, forget data warehouse, nothing. There's literally nothing Excel. There are markets living in literally in Stone Age Excel. So we leapfrog them from just Excel, nothing, to really modern age analytics empowered through BigQuery, through Looker and Power BI. And you can just see the smiles and the happiness and the endorsement from the users in all the market. They just love the dashboards and all the use case is one of the top 5, right? Coming from nowhere to really the top. It's absolutely stunning. Similarly, on other use case I can talk about is, let's say, we want to transform from a traditional CRM, customer relationship management, to more next-gen consumer focus, consumer O plus, so online plus offline, 360 view kind of focus through consumer data platform. So this is where also Google Cloud with a combination of Spanner, BigQuery with real-time integrations, and adding to more even cutting edge, empowering through machine learning and personalized algorithms. So that's where I think we are able to really push the boundaries way too fast in less than a year. So this is another stunning use case to talk about. Third, maybe as you know, I think all of the big enterprises have a lot of legacy solutions, small data, big data platform, whatever data platforms, right? So we also heavily invested into that. So we took the opportunity to simplify our entire landscape, move the workloads, move the data assets, not just move copy paste, but then to centralize in a place so that data is accessible for anyone. Just a browser where you can just browse the news, you can just browse the data. Of course, data governance enabled with the right security, but that's where we're able to break the barriers, because previously data was stuck in some databases. Some people had access to, some people did not know. So I think we're really able to shatter all the barriers. And one point I would like to highlight, it's a transformation as you highlighted, right? So, and it's never just about technology. Technology is just one piece of the puzzle. It's more about unlocking, enabling, empowering people with the right mindset, skills, and knowledge. So this is where we spent more time rather than just making a roadmap and architecture. We actually spend more time in upskilling ourselves, not only in IT, but business folks throughout the zone, from Shanghai, Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea, Australia, coming together in the same kind of a instructor-led training program, where actually the trainer was in Mexico. But all of us became 4 days, nothing doing, all of us having the same language, same understanding, what it is and what it takes to move to Google Cloud, so that we can make business ready for data, and not just making data ready for business, but the other side as well. So that, I think it was a wonderful journey in the last 1 year, and we hope to amplify it further this year.
Thanks, Harish. Thanks for sharing those insights. Yes, it is indeed, along with technology, you have to focus on people and process as well. Right? I see that, UK's is a very integral part of your team when it comes to the AI and all, right? So UK, could you please help us in understanding, how's L'Oreal solving, business challenges using AI with examples, any examples you may have? Yeah.
Of course. So first of all, thank you for having me. And to answer the question, we basically always begin with our journey with the business question in mind. And the whole process is a truly end-to-end process where, data scientists and engineers team coming from Harish's team are actively involved in conversations with business stakeholders from the very, very beginning to evaluate, first of all, whether the pain points that the business stakeholders actually they have are needed, whether the pain point that actually need AI solutions. So sometimes maybe a very simple automation from Excel or a data visualization from Power BI or Tableau or analysis will be enough. If AI solution or ML solution is needed, then data scientists will begin collecting the requirements, and of course will be filtering some unrealistic ones from the business stakeholders to use them as the base for our model design. Whether a global cloud service is needed will also be part of the evaluation process at this stage as well. So something worth mentioning here is that at L'Oreal, the data scientists and all the engineers, and actually they were all encouraged in designing the best application scenarios together with the business stakeholder for the model, so that the model can work at its best performances. And all of the questions will be taken care of during our kickoff meeting with the stakeholders. During the development phase, we're following agile project management structure. So basically, after the minimum viable model is delivered, one final meeting with the business people is to deliver our final model as well as our insights. Our deliverables usually will be unfolded into 2 parts. One thing is for technical documentation, for technical people like engineers and data scientists and data engineers. And one part is mainly for business documentation, which contains all of the insights, that it could be actionable for the business stakeholders. Basically, upon this stage, it usually will take around 4 to 5 weeks for us to deliver 1 use cases. But finally, the data scientists and engineers are involved in also online experiment design in our team. Typically through a campaign event. At this stage, usually we will involve like A/B testing for this one to make sure that the model actually works both online and offline before it actually go live. The whole team will be closely monitoring the performance of the model, and we will run regular error analysis to make sure that the model can be learned, the model actually can learn from the mistakes and iterate better and better version on top of that. The whole process will need a dedicated work from both data scientists and engineers. Business people are also involved in typically in 3 meetings, I will say, so it's not really a lot. Those typical meetings are kickoff meeting, final review meeting, and also experiment design, and that's it. That's about the whole process and strategy that we're using for delivering AI use cases in L'Oreal.
Thanks, Yuki. Thanks. I would like to probe more on this one, since being in the beauty tech, personalization is one of the key features, right? I mean, when it comes to the your consumers using the products, personalization is a very key theme, right? So how do you see, panning it in coming years, and how do you plan to build solutions around the personalization?
That's a great question. Actually, we have been thinking about the question from the beginning when we're first kicking off this AI Factory project. So indeed, in our team in L'Oreal, we value personalization as much as we value our consumer experiences. On one hand, as L'Oreal is rapidly transforming itself from a traditional FMCG company to a beauty tech company, personalization out from which user profiling, product recommendations, those algorithms are our main focus this year. But also on the other hand, we do want to make sure that whole shopping experiences for our consumers is fun and healthy. So in order to achieve that, the recommendation algorithm are designed in a way that it can both provide most relevant product to our consumers, and meanwhile to provide room for explorations for them. So in the coming years, especially for recommendation related scenarios, I will say government regulation will also come into play to protect consumer privacy data and to mitigate the exploitation part of the whole algorithm design to the lowest level. So I think this will be a bummer news for many of the tech giants in the market right now. But however, I do believe that a good and healthy algorithm will do good in long term.
Mm-hmm. Tuba, Harish, would you like to add more points on this one?
I fully agree with Yuki. I think with not just data, but enabling data to make it personalized for, when you say consumer, we're also consumers at the end of the day. So consumers, users, for people, right? So I think that's a real beauty of the whole AI plus the data. But I think there's a fine line between the data privacy, data governance, legality, is what you can do. I think it's an emerging area. Some markets are really mature in terms of it. For example, China, South Korea. In other markets, we are working with the privacy teams and all teams very closely to ensure that we are legally compliant, or as flexible to explore the new areas which are not yet explored.
And I totally agree. There's a fine line where you approach your customers for an offer. The importance of machine learning becomes more important because if it is relevant, you have less resistance. But it is not, it becomes like a noise and can be disturbing. So that's why the importance of machine learning and good accurate models play an important role there too.
Yeah, thanks Tuba on this one. Yes, it's an important aspect. But building your AI ML model and everything, it requires a solid data foundation, right? Without which you wouldn't be able to build your AI platform or AI models to serve your business, right? So Harish, would you be able to throw some light on how has L'Oreal invested in building the data platform so that you could leverage AI and ML algorithms on top of it?
Absolutely, happy to share. And I'm fully 10,000% with you. I think a solid data foundation it's not about negotiable, or it's an absolutely must-have for any use case, AI, machine learning, or right quality of data or dashboard, whatever. We need to have a solid data foundation. And at the core, as I mentioned, is the infrastructure, right? Or the architecture of what we use for which purposes. So in L'Oreal, we were on a big data journey before we embarked into Google Cloud. So when it's a big data, you can assume the open source version of Hadoop by Google, Spark, Impala, Kudu, and the many likes of it, right? It really becomes very tech heavy. And we were in a very vicarious situation where we had to choose in order to go to Google Cloud. Do we lift and shift, migrate the workloads, leveraging products such as Dataproc, which is Hadoop compatible, reverse compatible, so on and so forth, or which will accelerate our movement or transformation to Google Cloud? Or do we re-engineer bottoms up with Google specific native stacks such as BigQuery, Dataflow, which is totally new. We're not aware of it, not fully used it, right? So we did a lot of brainstorming, thought process, upskilling was a large contribution to it, a lot of research, a lot of experiments before we decided anything to do, right? So we concluded, to go with fully bottoms up re-engineering. Why? Because we had few guiding principles which really embellished into every single decisions what you make. So I'll highlight a few of them. The first and foremost would be, we chose to go fully serverless or PaaS. We are done with overhead of managing the infrastructure, cluster, upgrading, moving, security, granting access. It was so painful. We wanted to focus more on creating, adding business value, which means we wanted to focus more on how we can be more agile, flexible, not stuck with the constraints of the clusters and stuff. So which is why we had simple principle, go serverless, so which means no IaaS, no GCE, GKE, and the likes of it, and a big thumbs up to BigQuery, Dataflow, Cloud Runs, right? Fully, I think Tuva mentioned it, and that is first and foremost guiding principle. Second one, we intentionally wanted to transform from ETL, very traditional ETL, which all of us we are very familiar with, more ELT. So we get the data, put it easily into Google Cloud Storage, acts more like a data lake. Then we move it to the BigQuery, again acts like a very scalable kind of data warehouse. On top of which we can transform, we can harmonize, we can enable data quality, we can grant access, plug-in tools, so on and so forth. So in that way, we can really make it flexible in terms of whatever objectives we have, even unlocking, let's say, making it visible for machine learning use cases for rapid prototyping. So it's very easy. We are telling you because the pains what we went through in the previous data platform are no longer applicable. And similarly, I think I will have to admit it. I'm not trying to initiate a battle between SQL and Python, but as you know, it's easier to find more people in SQL or upskilling SQL just on getting the data foundation right. So I think the BigQuery is a huge part of our strategy, to choosing the rest of things. And of course, we are in 2021, 2022. So DevOps, DataOps, MLOps is a no-brainer. There's simply no excuse to saying that, oh, my code is my laptop. I don't know what has happened. The data loads have gone through. I think, unfortunately, we have, every enterprise faces this. But that's where we're able to leverage all the, the managed services on Google Cloud, Cloud Source Repository, Cloud. Just have to configure a few things here and there. Right? Or is complex matrix organization, which means data maturity, technology maturity, tools maturity vastly differ. So it's very hard to say we have one-stop solution on Google Cloud for everyone. So we ended up creating guidelines, a lot of if-else sort of a visual statement saying that if you have data, if the maturity, if your API first enables, then you can follow with these kind of approaches. So PubSub may make sense. In alternative cases, maybe just go with the files, GCS route. So I think the guidelines are very important. And this is where I think the architects from the enterprises, we have to step up to understand the nuances of the enterprise, look at Google Cloud and connect the dots together. And lastly, I'm going to say, Tuva, you might not like it, but Google is quite experimentative, right? You all guys keep coming with new products or changing products, which is good. I love, new stuff, but it also, you have to be careful about how things change, especially when you're choosing the tool. For example, AI platform versus Vertex AI. So how we can mitigate the changes while we also going to the next level forward. So I hope sort of give you a good picture, Chetan, how we decided
yes.
to go with what.
Yeah, Harish, I also know that you are on a journey to build, tech accelerator or kind of center of excellence, right? Where you are experimenting with different team structures and all, right? Along with Yuki. So would you like to light on maybe, how you are forming that center of excellence or, tech accelerator to expedite your AI journey?
Yep, I'll let Yuki take it up. She's expert in Tech Accelerator.
Thank you, Harish. Okay, more than happy to share. So basically for this question, I think that's AI Factory is where we design, build, and roll out our AI use cases for North APAC markets within L'Oréal. And currently it's hosted on the Google AI platform. The goal actually is to develop the best-in-class machine learning model within L'Oréal. So currently most of the use cases are still consumer-facing. So basically we're still using a lot of the CRM data at current stage. The strategy of AI Factory, I will say that is basically instead of considering each model or each AI use cases / algorithms as a separate and independent component, we are rolling out by them. We're rolling out by bundle. meaning that we are packaging a few of the use cases together and roll out to each market to address the unique business question that they're facing. So we call this as the Lego strategy. It is still in, I will say, a quite early development stage, as we are in the process of designing which model, which algorithms can be stacked, which can be stacked together with which. The reason we're doing this way, I will say, is because sometimes we found our independent or solo algorithm quite difficult to plan in the business scenarios. For example, in our scenario, most of them are on social media campaigns, events. And by doing so, we can pitch, instead of pitching one single algorithm at a time to each market, we can pitch several algorithms one time to the business people to also save time. And hope that answers your question.
That helps, Yuki. Thanks a lot. Harish, would you like to add anything?
Absolutely. I think we are also, on the data side, data platform side, we are also experimenting with a little bit different kind of a model, engagement model with the pod kind of a structure, where we're not stuck with the constraints. So again, here the focus is not on technology or on the people, it's more on the process of engagement, right? So we're not stuck with the constraints of the way we write contracts, saying one use case, we get this many resources, let's just do that, and then we figure out what to do later. So I think we are trying to look at end-to-end with in a combination of, let's say, ML ops on the technology side, with the right set of people, with the right skills combined together in a certain kind of format, for all of us focusing on, let's say, delivering or creating business value in a certain use cases, right? So that's why, interestingly, we are collaborating with Fractal on that to explore how we can podify, let's say, foundries, or the designers or the brains, and the factories, or like the engineering aspects to put things together and get stuff done. So I think it's an emerging area. So I'm really having keen eyes on this in the industry as well, how this evolves.
Thanks, Harish. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So Tuba, like Harish was just mentioning, they have now been moving from AI platform to Vertex AI. So Google has been trying to put all of the AI lifecycle things into one bundle of product, right? So would you like to share details on Vertex AI, and how does it help in addressing all the elements of the AI lifecycle, I would say?
Yeah, the idea here is, like Yuki and Harish mentioned, to make it easy for people's lives when you need to deal with so many different models. And with that objective in mind, Google brought all machine learning capabilities into one place, an umbrella solution called Vertex AI. And it's a unified platform to solve all kinds of problems. And when I say unified, I mean you might need to work on like social media data analyzing text. So that requires totally different discipline around NLP models. Or you might have some customer purchase analysis, propensity analysis, working on tabular data, totally different structured data. Or you might want to analyze the product pictures, photos, and do some vision models. So you can do all of these things. No matter what business problem you have the same solution. So it's the same look and feel for the customer. They don't need to learn something from scratch. And with the unification, you also have some services that are seamlessly integrated to each other to provide you all the components you need to get models into production. So it's in the ML ops scenario. So you can have services to automatically monitor the performance of your models, trigger some retraining jobs, create pipelines to orchestrate the components, including data transformations, modeling, predictions. So all these things are connected to each other to make it easy for the end user to have access to those capabilities easily and streamline it in their production environment.
Mm-hmm. So Google also has a lot of auto ML capabilities. How would you explain how does it complements well with the Vertex AI when you have your custom
Vertex,
versus the
there's no
ML?
separate auto ML component anymore. It's embedded into Vertex AI. So that's another unification. You can, the same dashboard, the same UI you use for auto ML for building automated very complex algorithms running behind the scenes to get you answers, or you can go with the custom approach. You have those two options in the same interface in the unified approach. And again, the idea is to enable more people, because that's the gap we see, right? The demand is increasing massively, but we cannot find as many people as we wish in the organization. So we can enable more people easily. You don't need to have hardcore like Python skills. You can still get really good results from models, very powerful models using AutoML. You can explain them also. That's another key thing, using the explainable AI, because we don't want to work with just black box models in some cases, not always, but in some cases we have to explain the model to our stakeholders. So that's also brings those things together in one place.
So if you have to, recommend organizations, like L'Oreal and others as well, if they have to drive, adoption of AI and ML, what would be your recommendations? How should they go about it?
Well, what Harish explained was music to my ears when he said the technology part is easy, but we had to deal with enabling people. I think that's a common theme. The technology is already there. It's powerful, strong. You just need to make it integrated into your organizations. But the changing the culture is the key part that needs to be taken care of at the very beginning of the projects, as I see. So having some collaboration at the beginning and setting some shared goals, objectives within the organization, and moving towards that helps the success of the projects a lot, because at the end of the day, we are all humans and we need to be motivated. So we need to have a shared vision ahead. So I think that's quite key. And starting with a business problem, like Yuki said at the beginning, first start with the definition of the problem, and then choose one thing, not try to boil the whole ocean, but just start with something that is tangible, doable, and prove the value. That would speed up the process so much, because people will see how beneficial those components are, also to make their lives easier, like having access to people to just get data, the insights from data, not using Excel, but using some very scalable environments, makes such a big change. So the same thing for the automation with machine learning and other tools will happen.
Thanks Tuba for that.
If I can add two more cents, I'm fully with
Yes,
Tuba, right?
Sure, Harish.
And not just on, let's say, AI platform or Vertex AI or AutoML. I think even BigQuery ML is really amazing. I have one of my business partners on the call, hello Crystal. So I think we have actually put a real working production BigQuery ML in, on the production, which is really creating uplift for us, right? So we're not talking fancy Python code with a lot of pipelines. We just data on BigQuery and having BigQuery ML. This itself is so valuable to businesses. So I think Google really helps us unlock with a whole variety stack from no ML, AutoML, BigQuery ML, full-fledged ML.
Yeah, fully agree with that, Harish. I mean, earlier it was democratization of data, but now you could, with BigQuery ML, you could do democratization of AI as well, right? So it's very easy to build, your models with your data is already there in the BigQuery. You build your models, and it's very easy for citizen data scientists, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why now we're, I think, moving to another stage where we see that building model is easy and even productionizing it. But then what happens when the model is in production? So like monitoring and keeping an eye on the model and seeing how the actions are taken and getting the feedback loop, the mechanism back into the place, is going to become a much more important aspect moving forward. Yeah.
Yes. So I also wanted to, highlight one of the, or rather two aspects, for our audience. One of the important aspects is MLOps, which Harish and yourself, briefly you touched upon, and another is feature engineering, right? So, how easy and, how important it is to consider feature engineering and how to build a feature store, so that you don't reinvent the wheel during your different model lifecycle or the development of your different models.
I wonder what you think on that one, Harish and Yuki, because especially when you work across different countries and trying to make it repeatable and reusable, that might play an important role, I guess. Having a centralized view.
Is feature story,
Definitely.
important? Absolutely, there's no question about it, right? It's same as the data foundation we're talking about. Having the data organized, clean, and governed is first step into the maturity model, right? Once we go into the AI machine learning journey, rightly as you pointed out, building the model is the easier part, 5% of the job, right? I think the next will be, once you build it, how we make it scalable, that part you touched on MLOps, but how we make it reusable. So the code or the model itself need not be reusable across markets. For example, features might be different for, even for consumer propensity, as we talked about. So that's where the feature store really plays a vital role, where you have the data foundation, built build the pipelines into the feature store, which becomes visible to anyone and everyone. Again, democratization is a key part to solving this. So once it's there, then anyone can tap into that and build their own adaptive models. So I think I'll let Yuki share more information.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Harish. I think like as a data scientist, especially for feature engineering, is going to take my majority of my time when I'm building up models and writing up the algorithms. And for me, not only to make it scalable is very important, but also for me, I think is in terms of versatile. So for me, a lot of the algorithms, for example, one output from algorithm could be a feature for another, be a feature or input data for another algorithm. So, and a lot of the feature engineering step is not like one-time effort. It's more like iterative. So you go check, you monitor your model, you go check your performance drop. So you come back and do another rounds of feature engineering. So this part is actually something that we are very, very interested in exploring. And to be 100% frank with you, we haven't started anything on this one yet, but this is the #1 checklist on my to-do list for this year. So it will be actually very nice if we can connect offline to share more about the feature storage, functionality and everything.
Thanks, Yuki. Thanks for sharing that. Quick time chat. I think we could open this for questions from audience as well. If you have any questions, please put it into the Q&A chat, and we will be happy to take your questions. Okay, we have one question coming in, and okay, it's about it's about the model monitoring. So the question goes like, okay, how significant it is to monitor an AI model? Would you like to? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The significance would be related to the changes in the data, how you measure the change in the input data, because as we all know, it all starts with data, everything's about data. So when you build a model, you make some assumptions that the world doesn't change instantly. So you find those patterns and you assume that those patterns will happen in the future too. If the data changes dramatically, and there are some statistical measures to define those distance calculations, how different the model is compared to where your training started, you can set up some thresholds. And within the organization, you might know that some variables are more volatile, so there might be some more changes expected, but some should be solid. So you can fine-tune those thresholds also. So it's quite flexible. The significance would lie in the way you design the process for monitoring. And you can set the alerts, and you don't need to say that, okay, if I have that much difference, just trigger a retraining. It might be maybe too stretched to start with, but you can set those alerts to notify, to inform the experts, and they can have a look and then make those decisions. And in time, then you can automate the whole process. It's like step by step, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tuba. Thanks. We have one more question, which is about, okay, what are the industry-specific AI solutions on the Google Cloud?
The industry-specific AI solutions, that's a very hot area right now, and there are lots of investments and experimental projects going on in different industries. I can count a few around healthcare, for instance, because with healthcare especially, you have some common taxonomy, some common ground that you can reuse with life sciences or with some health-related topics. There are things around NLP where you can find to categorize the disease or treatment, those kind of automated processes you can use with healthcare APIs. And one thing to highlight is around document AI, also around NLP. You can analyze contracts, licenses, like specific documents that automatically captures the information with high accuracy. And there are other areas around like forecasting in retail, demand forecasting. So yeah, it's hard to count all of them because it's a very active area, but to count a few. And maybe another one to mention is contact center AI. So you can have the human-like conversation with an automated agent, and also you can use it to assist the real agent, human agents during the call. So you can surface some information from the call during the call to help support the real agent using AI.
Thank you. Thanks, Tuba. There's another interesting one coming, so this question is related to the ML ops. And, could you help us understand L'Oreal's journey on ML ops? So, Harish, would you like to answer this one?
Interesting and a tough one, to be honest, because ML ops is an emerging trend in the whole industry, right? I think everyone is experimenting with it, including Google Cloud with the Vertex AI and the pipelines, Kubeflow pipelines, putting stuff together on the monitoring, on the explainable AI, the whole package, right? As Tuba explained, right? So within L'Oreal, so I think 2021, we are focusing pretty much on the data foundations with the data ops, DevOps, and all of it, with experimentations on AI machine learning with Yuki and team, on let's say picking certain use cases, validating the use cases, right? It was less focused on the ML ops. Having said that, we have experimented quite a lot with the AI platform setup as well as Vertex AI right now. But given the reality, we are in the Asia zones, and Vertex AI still has some, availability rollout plan within the Asia, and our data is in Hong Kong. Some components are in Singapore, so we are able to experiment a bit. We have very fair understanding. So right now, as we speak, in the next 1 or 2 months, we intend to put together a reference architecture with the overall end-to-end flow. From the not just the data ingestion, that part is easy. That part we are fully clear on. From there to let's say where we develop the notebooks, to the coding, to the training part, how we can connect it with the pipelines, as Tuba mentioned. So Tuba, I'll make it a point to connect with you to review our architecture so that we have open exchange, as Yuki also highlighted. So it's a very interesting area, exploratory area. So to connect the dots. So Chetan, you too. Let's go work together to put it.
So this next one is interesting. I'm not sure whether Tuba, if you would be able to answer that or not. Is there any plans to integrate BigQuery ML with Looker? I think this would be really interesting.
Well, BigQuery is already integrated with Looker quite seamlessly. So you can call BigQuery from Looker. You can execute BigQuery jobs through Looker. So I think I might say it's already there in a way, because you can call with BigQuery ML, just to make it clear, it's like creating a table. Instead of saying create table, you say create model, and then call the SQL code with some options. That's it. It is super simple. So the same query could reside in a Looker script job as well. But if there's anything specific, I would like to hear more, like maybe I might be missing something that is required in this question.
So this one is another question. So I'll just read it out. So organizations are exploring different technical solutions for different ML security scenarios, saying that how is handling the security, the new auto ML inside of Vertex AI, and even for custom training in the distributed training. So I think this question is more or less about how do you handle security aspect when building your custom models using Vertex AI, or if you use AutoML?
It is the same security aspect, yes. So AutoML inside Vertex AI is still like calling services through the same platform. It could be calling, let's say you are building an MLOps pipeline. You can either go and call the AutoML model in your pipeline because no matter what you use in the GUI, you also have the Python SDK. So you have that flexibility. You can call it using code, or you can call your PySpark model or scikit-learn model. It's the same process because it can be used. All of them can be configured to use the distributed training environment on Vertex AI, Vertex Training. So you are exposed to the same level of security.
I believe there are multiple levels of security: the data, security on the data, security on the models, which is shared on the AI Hub, on Feature Store, and the pipelines, right? I think it has to be tackled at every single level, as Tuba pointed out.
Yeah, good point.
Yes. Yeah, this brings another interesting question. These days there has been a lot of talk about ethical AI, right? So, Tuba, would you like to share a few thoughts from Google's perspective? How is Google taking ethical AI? And also our audience would like to learn more about what is ethical AI about and what is it?
Ethical AI is a responsibility for everyone, I think, not only for the organizations at high level, but for individuals also within the organization. So building a model and then making sure that that model is used for good without harming anyone, and also making sure that it's not biased. It's not easy because you need to have a good understanding of what the outcomes are from the model. So that's why understanding, explaining, running some scenarios after building the model becomes important. And on the Google side, there are many initiatives, by the way, under European Commission also. There's a group, a working group that provides guidelines, and Google is a part of that group also, for the organizations to build ethical AI applications. And also internally, Google has an internal system, as an example, that assesses every single request when it comes to a custom AI application. There's a process and an approval audit process that goes through the requirements. What is it going to be used for? And if it is something that against the principles of Google, and if you search for AI principles, Google, there are 7 key principles, things that you cannot do and things that you should be searching for when you build an AI application. And if it doesn't fit, we just don't continue with that process. So I think every organization would require to have a community, maybe a community of people, not maybe 100% doing this job, but keeping an eye on what is happening in the organization, if the models are doing what we are expecting them to do. Would be a good way moving forward, I think, because there will be more requirements as the scalability increases a lot and we have more AI applications in our business, in our daily lives as end users. That will be a key requirement.
Thanks Tuba for sharing those insights. We can take probably one last question. Harish, maybe you could answer this one. So this is more about data models, and if you want to create a data warehouse with large volumes of data, does Google Cloud work? I guess it's more related to the BigQuery, but yeah, I'll let you answer, Harish.
I think whoever it is, my only suggestion: take your credit card, just put apply for free access to Google Cloud. It won't charge anything. You can access 1 terabyte for free, no harm done. Put whatever data you want, just try it out. You will see the difference. And this is exactly how we started 1 year ago. we just, I personally use my credit card. I burn some money. I'll keep it aside. But then I think that's how we started. It's really something amazing. As imagining having a data warehouse on the cloud, which you don't have to tune, set up anything, just focus on get whatever data you have, put it over there, transform, connect to whichever tools what we want, BI tools, AI tools, ML tools, doesn't matter, right? It's really scalable, serverless, a true cloud data warehouse. So BigQuery is the way to go. Go ahead, just try. Chuba, maybe you can add something if I missed.
No, that was a great answer. Really, nothing to add on top of that.
Okay. Okay, just a quick time check. We are just on the verge. So we would want, to thank you all for your participation and spending time with us today. We do have a request on your way out. If you could take a moment to share your feedback on the webinar through the quick survey posted in the chat box. Thank you very much for voting. Thank you, Harish, Yuki, and Tuba for your time today. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you for having us.
Thank
It's
you
been
for
a
having
wonderful
us.
webinar. Wish you
Thank
all a
you.
happy Chinese New Year. Xinyan Kuaila.
Yes, happy Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.